remain standing for Councilman Poole to give us the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you for another privilege to have our council meeting, to help our town, to help our neighbors, to help to build, not to tear down, but to help to build this town in peace and harmony, in love for one another. We thank you for each councilman, we thank you for our mayor, and we thank you for our town manager, which will be leaving soon. Not too soon, but she's been faithful for many years. No, Lord, we ask that you will continue to bless her as she travels up and down the dangerous highway. Bless her home. Bless her in her retirement. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've all had an opportunity to check over the minutes for the last meeting. This time I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And at this time we have Greg Adams with us, with Thompson, Price, Scott, and Adams, to go over the audit for the fiscal year of 2019 and 2020. So, Mr. Adams, the show is yours. Mr. Adams? Is he on?
He's on. Hang on. Let's see. Let me just.
Can you hear me?
There we are. Yes. Hi, Greg. Welcome.
Okay, sorry. I got some construction next door. I'm trying to get them to stop, so hopefully I can get them to stop for 5 minutes. The banging, if you hear that, I'm sorry. I apologize. My name is Greg Adams with Thompson, Price, Scott Adams. We completed the June 30th, 2020 audit for the town of Edenton. There's 14 general requirements that we have to go over, so these are the same kind of each year. They're the required communications that the auditor has to give to the board. Our responsibilities under generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, OMB uniform guidance, and the state in Single Audit Implementation Act requires that we design the audit to provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material error and in compliance with government regulations. That was accomplished. There were no material errors. We're required to perform all claim procedures and have complete access to both management and required information. That was completed, and our work was not limited in any way. We are required to communicate significant deficiencies in internal control that we discovered during the audit. The only deficiency that we noted was the segregation of duties, which is a common deficiency.
Greg, excuse me one sec. We're going to go ahead and share the PowerPoint that you sent to us?
Sure.
Okay. Hang on. We're just going to catch up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see
Okay, good.
Can you see the screen, or you're not?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right. We'll try.
I can see you.
Okay. All right. We'll try to work the screen from here.
I'll say next for the next page.
Okay.
That work?
Yes.
Okay. Next. So I'm on adoption and changes in accounting policies under the required communications. We're to communicate the initial adoption of or change in an accounting principle. This year there were none. Next year there will be a GASB related to leases that might affect the town's financial statements. So that would be in next year's financial statements, which GASB about leases. Management's judgment and accounting estimates. The main judgments and estimates for the disagreements with management, if we disagreed with an accounting principle or how transactions should be handled, we'd have to let the board know that we're none. Any consultations with other accountants, or really any other outside experts. So if I use an expert, a lawyer, an actuary, anything, we'd have to let you know that we use those outside experts in the preparation of the audit. There were none. Any issues, were there any communication between myself and the town about issues prior to our retention? There were none. Next page. Were there any serious or significant, excuse me, difficulties encountered during the audit dealing with management? There were none. Any irregularities or illegal acts that we came across, we'd have to notify the board of those. There were none during the audit, which is good. Next page. So those are the required communications that the auditor is required to communicate to the board. The next few slides, 7 or 8, are going to be just some of the key figures and analysis of the financial statements. Okay, so for 2020, then the general fund, the total cash at June 30th, 2020 was $2,698,606. The total revenues was $5,696,419. A total expenditures, $5,212,303. Other financing sources, $331,557. For a net change in the year plus $815,673. So a net increase of $815,000 in the general fund. The beginning fund balance was $2,717,580. The ending fund balance with the $815,673 came in at $3,533,253. Next is the electric fund. Total cash at year end was $2,147,928. We had operating revenues of I'm going to round off some of these bigger numbers, $11.7 million. Expenditures of $11.3 million. Non-operating revenues of $4,156. Other financing sources or uses, that would be a use, $295,000. So for a net change of $113,722 for the electric fund. Increase in fund balance or net position of $113,722. The beginning fund balance was $4,299,405. Ending fund balance with our increase, $4,413,127. Next is the water and sewer fund. Total cash at the year at June 30th, 2020 was $921,305. We had operating revenues of $2,137,278. Operating expenditures of $2,128,896. Non-operating revenues of $29,666. Other financing sources of $424,216. For a net change or increase in fund balance in the water and sewer fund of $462,264 for the year end June 30th, 2020. The fund balance at the beginning of the year was $6,260,369, including our $462,264 increase. The ending fund balance of the water and sewer fund was $6,722,633. So far, increases all around. The next fund is the airport fund. The cash and cash equivalents was $100 at year end. Total revenues of $240,989. Expenditures of $479,733. Other financing sources of $89,181. Net change or loss of $149,563 for the year ended June 30th, 2020. The fund balance at the beginning of the year was $2,977,303. Fund balance to end with our $149,563 loss, $2,827,740. The next slide is just a graphical analysis of the total cash for the town, so all funds. 2018, 4.5 million, 2019, 7.1, and the 2020 year-end, $5,770,564 total cash for all funds. Next slide is an analysis of the general fund balance, where we ended up at $3,533,253. So the prior year is 2.7 million. That's our $800,000 increase. The portion of fund balance that's restricted is 869,997. So that's the smaller bar. But the total fund balance the last 3 years, 2.4 to 2.7 to 3.5. Next slide is a kind of important slide for the local government commission. The minimum required fund balance is 8% of your general fund expenditures. That would be unassigned fund balance. So the portion of fund balance that's not restricted. 8% is 1/12. 1/12 equals 8%, and that's 1 month's expenditures. So the minimum amount of fund balance that the local government was requiring the towns to have is 8% of available fund balance. Your fund balance as a percentage of, well, that's the next slide. That's the next slide. I got ahead of myself. This is let's just skip to the next slide. Don't go back to this one since I did that whole spiel about the LG City. Your fund balance as a percentage of your general fund expenditures is at 51.1%. So that's 9.85%, which is not great in 2018, to 33.61% last year, to 51.1%, 51.10% this year. So if you take your unassigned fund balance available, and you divide that by your general fund expenditures, you'll get 51.1%. And the minimum required is 8%. Any questions about that? Okay, the previous slide where I thought I was on this slide is just your total fund balance and the fund balance that's available as a percentage of your total fund balance. So if we go back even to the previous slide and you take 869,997 divided by 3,533,253, that would be what the percentage is. 25% is restricted, 75% is available. So that's what this slide is referring to, 75.38%. So your total fund balance, 75% of it is available for appropriation. Okay? Then we'll go back to the slide to 51.1%. That's the available fund balance as a percentage of your general fund expenditures. The next slide, a lot of slides. The next slide is just an operating bar graph showing the total revenues and the total expenditures. So 5.6 million to 5.2 million. The next slide is just a pie chart with a makeup of your top 3-4 revenue sources. So ad valorem taxes, 35%. Then the next biggest chunk would be sales and services. Then unrestricted intergovernmental revenue, which would be mostly, I think, local option sales tax. So the biggest part of the pie, 35% for ad valorem taxes. The next slide is the same kind of thing with expenditures, which the largest department expenditure is public safety, 44%. The next slide is just an overall property tax collection rate from 99.03 in 2018, 98.42 last year, and then up again this year to 98.7%. The next slide is just what we talked about, the one finding, which is just segregation of duties. Due to the complexity of the counting cycle and the limited number of personnel in the town, can't segregate all of the possible counting cycles, so you'll have some segregation of duties issues, which is common finding. And that's the presentation. Is there any questions for me?
think anyone has any questions, Greg, and we certainly appreciate what you've done, and we appreciate the presentation.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to work with the town. And next year, I think will be a lot smoother. This was our first year. We had just to get to know each other, but I think we'll do a lot better job for you next year.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
Greg.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mayor, if I might, I've got to give a shout out to Virginia Smith, the finance officer. I mean, for the town to add back $800,000 to the reserve, and I've told you, that 300,000 of that was the sale, one-time proceeds from the sale of the Conger building. But even still, I can't remember a year when we've added $500,000 to the reserve. And
It's all due to the new council member.
I guess I give credit to, of course, the mayor and council, but Virginia has worked really hard with the department heads and the supervisors to make sure that we stay in compliance with the Fiscal Control Act, the upgrade that we did with the financial management system and the new automated procurement purchase order system is working really well. And I think that the thoughtful projections that are made by the department heads in terms of their expenditures, but then always being conservative on what we expect revenues to come in, contribute to the great year-end position that you found yourself in. So thank you, Virginia, and thank you to all the department heads and supervisors.
Thank you. Thank you. Says a lot for our employees and our management. It sure does. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have one question. Just one question. The only finding was one of internal controls, which is really difficult with a small organization. They find that every time. But I noticed that it says the governing board shall provide some of the controls. That's us, right? I just didn't know if it was what we need to be doing differently than what we've done in the past.
We asked Greg to give us some recommendations, some suggestions, because they see this a lot with their other clients, and he's going to provide that to us. And then we have some recommendations ourselves that we've learned over the last year. So we'll probably schedule a follow-up, maybe at the next Finance Committee meeting, to give you some suggestions.
Do I understand that's a common finding? Did I hear him say that?
It is for small organizations. Yeah.
I've always gotten that.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. If not, we'll proceed ahead with our committee reports. And the first one is our administrative committee chaired by Councilman Hack.
Thank you, Mayor Stallings. We have two items for consideration tonight. The first one we have discussed, I think at two previous meetings, the reappointment of our members to our various boards and commissions. And when we discussed this at the committee meetings, we moved forward with the recommendation that council reappoint the boards and commissions members who are eligible and willing to serve once again as those have been presented to us. So I would put that in the form of a motion that we, in fact, reappoint those boards and commissions and those members who have indicated to us that they're willing to serve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Thank them for their willingness to continue to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And Mayor, the next item for consideration by the full council is a lease agreement with WAF Contracting. This was discussed at our March 22nd meeting, and at that time the committee reviewed that with council, and we also recommended approval of a new lease agreement. I think it's important to point out that this is just an extension of a previous agreement that we have had with the same terms and conditions as the previous leases. It also has a built-in 1.5% annual escalation clause such that we get 1.5% increase in the amount of rent that we are receiving each year under that lease. There is one change that we do need to point out, and it's required by the North Carolina Division of Aviation, and that is in the event that the land is ever needed for any aviation use, that the lease would need to be terminated. And so with that one change and with the 1.5% escalation clause, I would put it in the form of a motion that we approve the lease agreement with WAF Contracting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And Mayor, that concludes our committee's business before.
Thank you, Councilman Hyde.
Thank you.
And our next committee report is Public Works, and that's chaired by Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. We only have one item of business. It's recommended to adopt the resolution authorizing the submittal of a grant loan application for North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality for improvements to the sanitary sewer collection system. Before I get into talking about any kind of motions, I want to give Anne-Marie and Corey the opportunity to review with us some recommendations on how they plan to reduce the scope of this Phase 2 I&I project.
So, initially when we were looking at a second phase for the I&I project, which we are in the final stages of the first I&I project, we're wrapping that up I think next week, next Friday.
Yay!
With the guys from the state, so that's good news. And one of the things that we didn't want to lose sight of is we did make adjustments during Phase 1 as things shifted, as we ran into problems that were found as exposed, distressed, sewer mains. And what we did is we were able to basically take some of the areas that were considered from the first phase and roll them into second phase to make sure they stayed a priority, kind of a priority one. And we also worked together with the water and sewer supervisor, some of the other employees that we had, where we had other known issues, some of the data that was collected from the Phase 1 I&I project, and we got a list together. Since that time, we've identified some places where we've got some more life expectancy left. We're actually hoping to reduce the number of areas from 8, which is what was originally on the funding application, to only a scope of 4. 1 being from the initial phase, and 3 being places that were identified since this project has started that the disrepair is just has gotten too large for something that we can do in-house.
And we don't have the exact figure for this revised scope, but we're working with the engineer, with the Wooten Company, to get that to you. But I guess it's good news that we're asking you to consider adopting a resolution for a project that is not going to cost, I think the latest estimate was almost $2.5 million, and what we sent to you was like 1.8 million. I think it will be significantly lower than that. So because of the funding deadline, we have to submit this grant application. It's due, I don't know if it's the end of this week or early next week, but the actual resolution authorizes us to submit the funding application. And so we will advise you as to what the bottom line scope is, but we do ask that you consider approving the resolution tonight, because we still have work to do to submit the application to the state in order to meet its deadline. And this is just for the application, and then you'll have a chance, if we're awarded, to review based on the award. We're hoping that we're gonna be eligible for a significant grant.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of Corey?
Mayor, I'd like to put, put in the form of motion adoption of this resolution as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mayor, please start.
Okay. All right, and our next committee report is the Finance Committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Lease.
So we have three quick things tonight. One, the first two relate to Daedalus, Michael Reardon's business out on Townside Drive. The first one is it's recommended that the council approve the grant agreement with Daedalus Composites and Project Wings as presented. It's a reuse grant, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Second is that follows that is that it's recommended that the council approve the loan agreement with Daedalus Composites / Project Wings as presented, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And the third thing is just some housekeeping. It is recommended that the council approve the budget amendment to the general fund to reflect the proceeds from the insurance as we talked about in our last meeting and as presented. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
That is the Finance Committee for the evening.
Okay, thank you, Sambo. All right, and the next item on the new business, I would like to recognize Councilman Hyde.
Thank you, Mayor Stallings. It's my honor and privilege to make a motion tonight that we honor the memory of Dr. Alan Hornthal with a resolution acknowledging his accomplishments and all of his contributions to the town of Edenton. I think it's appropriate, and as the resolution indicates, he is a former town council member and served our town council and our town honorably for about 6 years, I believe. He was a wonderful role model to all citizens here in town, was a mentor and role model, especially to the young women of our town. I have a special place in my heart for Dr. Hornthal. He coached both my wife and my daughter, and my whole family has a lot of fond memories of him. So I would recommend that we pass a resolution as written in his honor, and please don't make me read it. But that's my motion. I put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion in about 3 seconds. So any further discussion on that
I
matter?
just want to let you know, he taught both my daughters.
I'm sorry?
He worked with both my daughters in the tennis program at Johnny Holmes, and they both miss him.
He was a great man. He did a lot for this town. I was telling Miss Knighton earlier today, she and I were talking, and the Episcopal Church went to Honduras, sent a group to Honduras, and I think it was '99, and they allowed two outsiders to go, which was Mike McCrawford and myself. And Alan went, and he worked on a lot of teeth for free while he was there. I was telling Anne Marie, this one young girl came in, she was probably 10, 12 years old, but she was all, her whole outside of her head was all swollen up from abscessed teeth and this type of thing, and he took care of her. So gentle with her and everything. He was just a great person. He really was. So
He would take our youth group down to the beach, to take the Episcopal youth group that ranged from 6th grade to 12th grade and put them in one beach cottage and put up with all of the mess that went on. I mean, he was a great guy.
yeah.
Yeah, when tennis girls got upset with things, he would always go. That was a symbol. Calm down. It's okay. It's gonna be all right.
when my kids and we're telling stories here, but when my kids were small, we used to ride bicycles around town a lot, and we rode by his house one day, and him and his wife were sitting out on the porch when they lived down here on the corner, and he hollered out at us, the family that ways together stays together, and I've never forgotten that either, so he was just a good person. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, and I guess, Anne Marie, you will take care of that?
Yes, we will, make sure that it's properly signed and notarized, and we'll, maybe work with Councilman Hyde to make sure that, the family receives an original copy.
Okay, thank you. And the next item is items considered timely and important, and I'm gonna call on Ms. Knighton, if she will. She has something that's very timely and important that she wants to talk to us about.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as the council knows, I have set my retirement date for, the end of September, and I'm, really, blessed and honored to have been able to serve the councils, and the town for what will be 33 years by the time September rolls around. But in looking forward and moving forward, my plan was to give you some time to work. I'm hopeful that you'll consider hiring a firm to assist you with the search. I sent to you today a proposal that I had received from a consultant who has done a number of searches recently he's located in North Carolina, but he has done searches in communities in the eastern part of our state, so he's familiar with the region. And his approach, I hope you'll take time and read the proposal as to how his firm would go about the recruitment. I'm trying to get another proposal for you because good procurement requires, at least trying to get 2 proposals to compare. But my goal is to have something for you to consider at your April 26th meeting. And it may require before then, it may be that you want to do a Zoom call with, 2 of the principals of the firms. So I think you want to at least talk to them, not just read their written proposal. But I do recommend that you try to wrap up the selection process of the consultant who's going to work with you by the end of this month. And so,
2 weeks.
well, if you need more time, you can certainly do that. But I think, reviewing the proposals and then having a call or a Zoom should give you a good feel, and happy to provide references to, some of the communities who've gone through searches with the consultants for you to talk to. But he does think, this consultant estimated, 90-day process. And if, things go smooth and you find somebody, that's around here or the region and that person can start sooner, I'm more than happy to
Not gonna happen.
ride off into the sunset earlier than September 30th. But I also included a copy of the duties and responsibilities for the manager's position. I'll ask Tammy to review it because she reviews all of our job responsibilities, but I think it's pretty accurate. But again, I would suggest that you review that, and if you see things that need to be changed, we can certainly work with you and talk about that as well. So.
Well, thank you, Anne Marie. It is a very bitter and yet very sweet time for all of us. We hate to see you go, but we wish you well in everything you do. You have been a fixture in this town for a long time, and you've served this community very well, and we all wish you all the best. Anything that we can do, absolutely, we will, to help you in your future endeavors. And I'm gonna quit there because, anyway.
Yeah, I got one quick thing to say. You might even have 3 of us cry tonight, but that's That's all right. We got a lot going on. I wrote something out. I knew this was coming at some point. When I got on this council, I've been the town attorney. I had dark hair, and somehow Anne Marie had dark hair, and somehow she still got dark hair. But I just want to read this. I wrote it and sent it to the paper. One of Anne Marie's greatest accomplishments has been the continued economic stability of Edenton. When the Edenton Cotton Mill closed in 1995, Anne Marie Knighton quickly helped a group of citizens organize and create North Carolina's most successful mill village redevelopment. Anne Marie helped set up organizations, for example, in like, but not exclusive, like Destination Downtown, the Edenton Economic Development Corporation, and the organizations that are helping transform Edenton's redevelopment zones. She can be found in her office every Saturday and every Sunday working hard to keep Edenton safe and vibrant. When we have had a natural disaster, Anne Marie has worked 24 hours a day to get our electricity and water and sewer grids back up and running. She has recently overseen the upgrade of the water treatment plants, the modernization of the electric system, and major drainage and road improvements. The best way to appreciate all of Anne Marie's accomplishments is to drive around Edenton and then visit other small towns in our area. It is then you will see what her hard work, creativity, and imagination have done to make the Edenton we see today. When I think of Anne Marie's contribution to Edenton, I'm always reminded of Jimmy Stewart in the movie It's a Wonderful Life. She has achieved so much through her quiet, dignified way, never seeking credit for what she has done, but always right there leading the charge to make Edenton better for everyone. Anne Marie cannot be replaced, but she is leading Edenton in a very strong position. I have worked with her for 25 years on special projects like the restoration of Cadiz Church, the design and construction of the Edenton Police Department, and the expansion of the National Register Historic Districts, which have all made Edenton better. The difference between Anne Marie and other town managers is that Edenton isn't just a place she lived, it's her home. Her time as town manager, it's been a gift to us all.
Amen.
Very good. Anyway, thank you.
I would like to say something. Anne Marie was the first town official that I met when I moved here. I bought a house on Curtis Street, and I remodeled it, and then people started coming up looking for a lot that was for sale. And I come find out that my lot was on 25-foot wide, and my driveway, my house was 3 foot on the other property, and my driveway was on the other property. So I thought about what I heard one man in church say about what is it, this some kind of law if you've been living and paying taxes on property for 20 years, it's squatter's law. And I said, no. I said, I'm going to see somebody in the town. And I went to Marie, and they still had it posted. And Marie and another lady came out to my house and looked at it. And I showed her. And my sewer line was on the other property. And she said, well, I said, we're going to have to put it up for sale again. And because it was being sold for taxes. Said, but you put up there, and I said, suppose I'm out of our business. She said, don't matter. So we can get you out. And she's the one that's responsible for me having a driveway in my yard now. And she helped me. And I know she's helped many other people in this town while she was in. But I don't know how to say it, but she's not just a town council, but she's a helper. She has a vision to help people to have a better life. So I don't know who's going to replace her, but I'm hoping that somewhere along the line that the council, I'm going to be the second one to go out the door. I'm I'm not running for councilman no more. So I'm hoping that the council can adjust to whoever is coming in and helping, because they're gonna need a lot of help. Because Edenton is specialized in a special way. And the people in Edenton don't operate like other cities, including Elizabeth City, Hertford, and all these other places. Edenton is Edenton. And please, councilman, don't try to copy out nobody else, because these folks come in and try to sell you what they got, and it might not fit Edenton. Like the divide and Broad Street and he's laughing. That wouldn't work. That didn't work. And I hope it never worked, because the street is not wide enough. But thank you, Marie, for all you did for me and for the town council and for the town.
Maybe we talk long enough, she'll stay.
And there's stories all over this town that can be told very similar to yours, where she has helped so many people, and she's helped all of us. She's been a great friend to me over the years, and consultant, and snatched me by the neck when I get across the line. So, does anybody else want to have anything they want to add?
Well, I certainly hope that we have further opportunity to sing Anne Marie's praises, because she's so humble, she's not going to let us do that, but we might have to twist her arm. But she certainly deserves more than just a few minutes of our comments at the end of the meeting. And so whether she likes it or not, Anne Marie, I'm sure we'll have the opportunity to sing your praises at least one more time, if not more times. But we all love Edenton. Edenton is a special place. Its sense of place makes it special, but more importantly, its people make it special. And Anne Marie is one of those people that truly makes it a special place. You're a very, very special person, and we appreciate everything you've done for the town over the last 33 years. We're truly losing one of our great leaders and public servants, and we're so sad to see you go. I do know, I've seen how hard you work. I've seen how passionate you are about the well-being of our town citizens. And sometimes when you have that passion, it wears you down. And you are certainly deserving of every bit of rest and relaxation that retirement can offer you. You've led us with a quiet dignity, a firm leadership style, but one that combines grace and dignity, and it's a leadership style I've long admired, and certainly since I've come on the council, I've had my respect for you grow even more. And every now and then, if somebody pushes you the wrong way, we do get to see that Irish, I won't call it temper, how about I call it the Irish temperament come out from time to time. But your leadership will not be forgotten anytime soon, and I think I speak for everyone here that we really, really appreciate everything you've done for this town.
Emery, this community has been truly blessed by having you as long as you've had you. And we all love you, and we respect you, and we wish you well.
I showed her something earlier that I had written. I'm not going to go back over it though, but that's for her eyes only. But when I first became a councilman, I didn't know anything. And I could call her and ask her questions. She would answer the questions. She would show me where to get the information from. And she was just a blessing to me. And I still call her, and she still helps me out. You know, I've been here for a little bit. But you are a very special person. I learned her through my mom. So my mom used to talk, had some dealings, and I got to know her then. Well, you know my mom.
I did.
She's a handful. And,
You always knew where you stood.
No doubt. But she always told me that, she said, that's a very nice young lady. She said, if ever you she can do anything for you, she will do it. And I found it out personally when I came to the council, and gonna miss you. Folks often ask me why I call you the boss lady, because I say she's the boss. They said, no, the council and the mayor is the boss of the town. And I said, that's just a figurehead. That's just like a queen. I said, she's the boss. She runs the town. Believe me, she runs the town. And you've done an excellent job of it. I agree with everything everybody said. You can look around the town and see all your work. We're gonna get a replacement, but they can't replace you. I'm just hoping that whoever comes is half as good.
Yeah.
Is that possible? That you are?
You're gonna be in good hands. Yeah. Thank you.
But you deserve your retirement. And I wish you all the best in life and all the happiness. And enjoy yourself. Okay?
Councilman High raised a good point. Is that at some point we're going to need to sit down and formalize how we lead the community and recognizing the contribution that has been made. For us, if for no one else, we need to do that. I don't know at which point we begin to give serious thought to that. Do we wait after we've hired someone? Or do we start now with planning and providing some leadership? So I sort of look to you for that leadership and guidance on how we respond both to our loss and to our future.
Is that it?
That's it.
Does anybody have any other matter that they want to bring before council?
I have one.
You go first.
I'm concerned about public works. I'm concerned about Edenton. I'm concerned about our streets in Edenton. Now, I was going down to Kellogg, and I hit a hole. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if it would knock somebody's, I hope it didn't knock my front end out of line. But that's a deep hole. And first thing I look at is why Edenton Public Works don't have equipment that they could fix small holes. They shouldn't be equipped to do streets, but they certainly should be able to patch holes, because every street has water, and sometimes they'll go in and dig up and repair lines under the street. But they should be able to patch the hole. And I haven't seen a legal equipment patching holes. And this hole here, like the other one, is about 3 foot by 4 foot. And there's two of them. One of them has been redone and it's sinking in. And the one that needs to be fixed is that deep when you hit it. I know goodness well I'm not the only one. And there's streets that Bond Hill was supposed to fix. But the street that Bond Hill fixed don't have much traffic going through it. And I wonder has they already been paid. But I thought this was supposed to be finished by now. This is April. All of their work that they had, I think, according to the council, according to paperwork, should have been finished by now. But I don't think 10% of the streets been repaired. I mean, somebody know better, let me know.
Okay, so Barn Hill has 2 more streets to repair. They're mobilizing on Friday. They're going to do the repairs on Saturday, and then Monday and Tuesday. And hopefully, weather permitting, they'll be finished with all of the work that you authorized. West Queen Street is a state-maintained street that is scheduled to be repaved. Is Barn Hill got that award for you? Rose, another contractor is going to be doing that work. The potholes there, they're probably utility cuts. that we've made, and Corey can speak to that, but we have a presentation planned for you, or for the council, at the April 26th meeting, based on your suggestions at the last committee meeting about what type of equipment you wanted to know, what type of equipment did Public Works have to make street repairs. Did you want to talk about West Queen Street? And
We can, so as far as West Queen, North Broad, Coke Avenue, Virginia Road, and what is a town named road, Church Street, all of those thoroughfares are managed by DOT. At this time, within the last 2 weeks, we have met for the North Broad Street project, which is let for 1 year later, to identify some items that need to be repaired. We are waiting on materials to come in, particularly in the area of West Queen. If you notice, one of the utility patches was redug for a second issue around the same manhole. We had a problem probably a year and a half ago, but we are planning on, prior to DOT paving, and that work was let March 15th of this year, so it can start at any time. And I know we're getting really close to that for Queen Street, MLK, and Coke Avenue. I have noticed within, just since yesterday, that there are areas on those streets that DOT would have had to come out and mark certain areas where there are problems. So they're going to go ahead and do some patchwork. And we do have 363 feet of sewer line that can be replaced from Mosley to Dr. Ali's office, that we are, as soon as the 8-inch pipe gets in, we're going to start. So just know that there will be some maintenance that Public Works will have to do for that area until it's paved. And we just recently found the schedule from DOT about the streets and the start dates, that they're going to start making some patches in until they actually do full-blown paving like we just experienced with Barnhill, with the contractor that was awarded their contract.
Yeah, I've got a related question, and I want to make sure that I understand what's been said, because I was going to express the same concern that Councilman Poole did, and the one that particularly has my attention is the one that is right there before Dr. Ali and Dr. Devine's office. Is kind of cornered across the street from the Presbyterian Church. And I don't know about the cost of these things. I don't know about the feasibility, or Councilman Hyde, that's not practical, but is there any way that we can get some sort of temporary patch on that one like we did at the intersection there at the post office? Because I'm like Councilman Poole, I've received so many complaints about that and have almost knocked my cars out of alignment passing that. So is that even feasible or practical, or are you telling me that you think DOT's going to jump on it soon enough? Or?
Well, yes, it is something that we can patch. We've been maintaining that under the impression that DOT would start making repairs in areas sooner. And really the only reason that we've been maintaining that particular location with just millings instead of actually doing the repair, that is the starting point for where the sewer will be replaced within the next 2 weeks.
It looks like you've done a couple millings
Yes.
there. And I was glad to see you put a traffic cone there too, so people are advised not to drive over, but you can't help it.
And if it's something that's going to take longer than expected to do the repair, with the size of what's there, making the patch shouldn't be any problem. Put that in and then remove it once we start the sewer repairs that are in that area.
So
Yeah, and if it's not impracticable or infeasible, I would ask that you do that. I don't want to put y'all to extra work, but I think it would be appreciated.
And what we run into, particularly on West Queen or any of the roads that are really exiting town that have that much traffic, is most of your temporary repairs just do not hold up long enough for a more permanent that's one of the things that we're running into, with the milling or cold patch, unless we prep and actually pave that cut, most of it, anything else that we add there will pull out.
Corey, I'm not blaming you, because I know you got your hands full. But when a street like Coke Avenue gets all them holes in it, that need to be, the whole street need to be fixed, not just patched here like this, patched here, patched this. You just don't have the right equipment to do these streets. That's what I'm saying.
Well, and I think the presentation that we have planned for the Public Works Committee, Corey's gonna review with you the equipment and the processes that we use, but in defense, Coke Avenue is not a town street. It is a DOT street. Councilman Bond called me and said, please, what can we do? And so we called DOT and they made some patches because they did that because we were getting so many complaints, but it's gonna be overlaid. And I told them, I said, we can't wait until the overlay because that could be, you know, a couple months. And so they did agree. And they've got their challenges with schedules and money and funding, but we were grateful that they came in and did a patch. But the plan is to resurface the entire length of Coke Avenue.
Okay.
Mayor? Change the subject. Regarding Piedmont natural gas, a while back I had discussions with Brady Cartwright. I think we talked to Councilman Bond and Jim Mayor about it. It was my understanding he was going to be here in April to assess Old Hertford Road, homes on Old Hertford Road, homeowners on Old Hertford Road, and homeowners on Paradise Road. Have you heard anything from Brady Cartwright or the Piedmont natural gas people about that?
We have not.
But we can follow up with Brady.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Corey, I hate to pick on you.
But you want to.
No, I'm not gonna pick on you. But who is responsible for water lines? Is that falls under you?
We are.
Mr. Drew, he was up here last month, I think. He said there's a busted water line in his neighbor's yard that's continuously to run, that's causing some of that water problem that he's got there.
And I went out this afternoon, so as far as the maintenance and repair of all water meter services, all service lines, and all water mains, as well as any water treatment and sewer collection system, one thing that Public Works just acquired as of January of this year was the actual meter reading and asset management for that particular item in every customer's yard. I did go out this afternoon and take a look. I think that we have two issues that are causing some of the water that's there. I think we have a stormwater issue there that needs to be further addressed. With some improvements were made, the air is still staying wet. When I actually went out and examined that today, I did notice the meter box was completely full. Not quite sure if that's stormwater that's causing it. The good thing is typically we can see swirling. If we have any type of leak near there where water is pooling or trying to move to its next lowest point. Did not see that, but I do have plans first thing in the morning to go back out while we're on duty during normal hours. Most of my guys were gone this afternoon or we were dressed it then. But I do think we have two things that need improvement around the 1200 block of Paradise.
Okay.
And so we will look into that first thing in the morning. I have, I guess, two issues in that area. We're going to make sure the supervisors understand what we need to do to get those resolved.
Because Because the other problems that I was getting calls for, anytime you get 2 inches of rain in an hour, I don't care what kind of water system you got in the town, it just ain't gonna pull it away. That's a lot of water.
Okay, does anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I just want to thank Public Works, Utility, Fire, Police for all the hard work this past Friday night. They put in that hailstorm. Great job.
Just wanted to clarify. And so are you going to arrange a time for us to meet by Zoom with Dr. Strauss? And look also at another possible consultant? Is that?
If you'd like me to do that, I'm happy to do that, yes. I think that's a good idea for you to have some contact with.
I think that would be good, especially if we're looking toward the end of the month to have a consultant. I was impressed with his presentation, but if we could have two, then we can Zoom in sometime soon and make a decision. That
I'll
fair?
work on it, yes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's important. I mean, that's gotta be a priority, so yes, sir.
Tammy, do we have anybody in the next room that's wanting to speak?
No one's here.
Okay.
Hey, Anne Marie, do we need to register to speak, or can we speak when it's asked for?
Hey, Kim. So our rules don't allow for public comment via Zoom.
Okay.
On the agenda, we note that you can submit comments up until 5 o'clock the day of the meeting to me, and then I would read them into the record.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, no one else has anything, that completes our agenda. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Triple it.